Eulipotyphla, which means truly fat and blind, is an order of mammals that includes the Lorasiatherian members of the now invalid polyphyletic order Lipotyphla. Despite their resemblance, the group exclude tenrecs and afrotherian moles. Like the hedgehog, Phallodocercus was covered in thin spines, but unlike them, it had scales on its head in a helmet-like formation, and had a long, thick, scaled tail. Mnesophontes was a large solenodon and may have been able to reach such a size due to the absence of competition from solenodons on those particular islands. It seems to have survived frustratingly close to modern times, even existing alongside indigenous humans, with some remains only about 500 years old. But when the islands were colonized by Europeans from the 1490s onwards, the combination of the introduction of invasive Old World rats, new predators like domestic cats and dogs, and extensive deforestation probably killed off the Mnesophontids very quickly. Solenodons diverged from all other living mammals about 78 million years ago. The study also found that there is much greater genetic diversity among the northern population than the southern population. This timeline aligns well with a hypothesis on how the Hispaniolan solenodon came to inhabit the island of Hispaniola. Geologists speculate that the island was part of a volcanic arc that connected to Mexico around 75 million years ago. It is a venomous, insect-eating animal that lives in burrows and is active at night. It is an elusive animal and was only first described in 1833. Its numbers are stable in protected forests, but it remains the focus of conservation efforts. The star-nosed mole is a small semi-aquatic mole found in moist, low-elevation areas in the northern parts of North America. It has more than 25,000 minute sensory receptors in touch organs, known as Eimer's organs, with which this hamster-sized mole feels its way around. With the help of its Eimer's organs, it may be perfectly poised to detect seismic wave vibrations. The nose is about 1 centimeter in diameter with its Eimer's organs distributed on 22 appendages. Because it is functionally blind, the snout was long suspected to be used to detect electrical activity in prey animals. The nasal star and dentition of this species appear to be primarily adapted to exploit extremely small prey. This animal is the fastest-eating mammal, taking as little as 120 milliseconds to identify and consume individual food items. Its brain decides in approximately 8 milliseconds if prey is edible or not. This speed is at the limit of the speed of neurons. These moles are also able to smell underwater, accomplished by exhaling air bubbles onto objects or scent trails and then inhaling the bubbles to carry scents back through the nose. Moles are small mammals adapted to a subterranean lifestyle. They have cylindrical bodies, velvety fur, very small, inconspicuous eyes and ears, reduced hind limbs, and short, powerful forelimbs with large paws adapted for digging. The eastern mole spends most of its time underground, foraging in shallow burrows for earthworms, grubs, beetles, insect larvae and some plant matter. It is active year-round. It is mainly solitary except during mating in early spring. The hairy-tailed mole is cathemeral. Since it lives primarily underground in shallow tunnels, it can forage throughout the day and will also forage on the ground's surface at night. The hairy-tailed mole is more active near the surface during warmer summer months and digs deeper underground in the cooler fall and winter months. This mole spends most of its time underground, foraging in shallow burrows for insects and their larvae and earthworms. It emerges at night to feed. It is active year-round. Predators include owls, foxes, and large snakes. The European mole lives in a tunnel system, which it constantly extends. It uses these tunnels to hunt its prey. Under normal conditions, the displaced earth is pushed to the surface, resulting in the characteristic molehills. It is an omnivore, its saliva contains toxins which paralyze earthworms in particular. Due to the subterranean nature of this mole, there is an anatomical regression of its eyes at several organizational levels. Its eye has a diameter of only 1 mm, it is buried beneath fur and has a cellular lens. Studies have shown that European mole does have photopic vision, contrary to popular belief that all moles are blind. Russian desman constructs burrows into the banks of ponds and slow-moving streams, but prefers small, overgrown ponds with abundance of insects, crayfish and amphibians. It often lives in small groups of 2 to 5 animals, that are usually not related, and appears to have a complex communication and social system. Their partially webbed hind feet enable them to swim efficiently, while their dense fur helps to keep them warm in cold water. They are well adapted to their semi-aquatic lifestyle, allowing them to thrive in their preferred habitat. Habitat loss, water pollution, and habitat degradation are the primary threats to the Russian desman. Human activities such as dam construction and agricultural development have led to the decline of their natural habitats. Although its external appearance is generally that of a long-nosed mouse, a shrew is not a rodent, as mice are. It is, in fact, a much closer relative of hedgehogs and moles. Shrews are related to rodents only in that both belong to the Barioeutheria magnorder. Shrews have sharp, spike-like teeth, whereas rodents have gnawing front incisor teeth. Pearson's long-clawed shrew is endemic to Sri Lanka. Its natural habitats are subtropical or tropical dry forests and lowland grasslands. It is threatened by habitat loss. In general, shrews are terrestrial creatures that forage for seeds, insects, nuts, worms, and a variety of other foods in leaf litter and dense vegetation, but some specialize in climbing trees, living underground, living under snow, or even hunting in water. They have small eyes and generally poor vision, but have excellent senses of hearing and smell. They are very active animals, with voracious appetites. Shrews have unusually high metabolic rates, above that expected in comparable small mammals. For this reason, they need to eat almost constantly. The hero shrews live in the undergrowth, feeding primarily on invertebrates. The evolutionary benefit of its unusual spine is not known. It is hypothesized that it allows the animal to push itself under logs and between palm leaves and the tree's trunk to find food. Local tribes of people believe the hero shrew holds magical powers. The vertebrae interlock on their sides and lower surfaces. The animal's spine has bony projections that mesh to form a strong yet flexible backbone. Some suggested that the robust spine and associated posture keeps the animal's body clear of wet ground in swampy habitats. An alternate idea was that the intricate spine somehow evolved as the consequence of some unrelated adaptive factor, as in the spandrels of St. Marco hypothesis. By nature, the shrew sounds, unlike those of bats, are low amplitude, multi-harmonic and frequency modulated. They contain no echolocation clicks with reverberations and would seem to be used for simple, close-range spatial orientation. In contrast to bats, shrews use echolocation only to investigate their habitats rather than additionally to pinpoint food. The greater white-toothed shrew is distinguished by a careful examination of its unpigmented teeth. Like other white-toothed shrews, it lacks the deposition of iron in their enamel at the tips of their teeth. It can be very vocal. They possess a primitive form of echolocation where they produce a high-pitched twittering call to interpret their environment. The use of this laryngeal call and vibrissae allows the shrews to find their way around their environment. Collart's long-clawed shrew is endemic to Sri Lanka and southern India. Its natural habitats are subtropical or tropical dry forests, grassland and swamps, and it is threatened by habitat loss. Head and body length is 12 cm 4 feet, almost white, very long and reddish claws. Tail covered by fine hairs as well as a few bristly long hairs. The Etruscan shrew is the smallest known extant mammal by mass, weighing only about 1.8 grams on average. Due to its small size and consequent high surface area to volume ratio, the Etruscan shrew is at a constant risk of hypothermia, and would quickly freeze to death if not for its extremely rapid metabolism. Its skeletal muscles contract at a rate of about 13 contractions cc during respiration alone. It feeds on various small vertebrates and invertebrates, and can hunt individuals of the same size as itself. The largest threat to Etruscan shrews originates from human activities, particularly destruction of their nesting grounds and habitats as a result of farming. Etruscan shrews are also sensitive to weather changes, such as cold winters and dry periods. The forest shrew excavates a shallow burrow or takes over the burrow of another small mammal. The complex of passages has several entrances and a nesting chamber containing dry grasses. These shrews are territorial, and a breeding pair of shrews is often found in a nest. It is mainly nocturnal and is an insectivore, but its diet also includes any small invertebrates it can find. To avoid predation, it spends most of its time in its burrow and only leaves when it needs to feed or defecate. The Merida small-eared shrews feed primarily on invertebrates. They are relatively indiscriminate in the invertebrates they prey on, but about 70% of their diet consists of creatures found below the soil, rather than on the surface. They have also been reported to scavenge on dead vertebrates, and occasionally to feed on eggs or newborn rodents. Although restricted to a relatively small geographic area, they are common within their habitat. Himalayan water shrew has a streamlined body with dense, waterproof fur that helps it navigate through water easily. It has partially webbed feet that aid in swimming and hunting for aquatic prey. It is a solitary and territorial species, often marking its territory with scent secretions. It is mainly active during the night, using its keen sense of smell and touch to hunt for prey in the water. While specific population data is limited, the Himalayan water shrew is not currently considered to be facing significant threats. However, potential risks to its habitat, such as water pollution and habitat degradation, could pose future challenges for its survival. It is an active predator, continuously hunting for small invertebrates in the water. Its sensitive whiskers and tactile sense allow it to detect prey even in dark or murky waters. It has a high metabolic rate, requiring it to consume a significant amount of food relative to its body size. The common shrew is the most common shrew, and one of the most common mammals, throughout northern Europe. It is 55 to 82 millimeters long and weighs 5 to 12, and it is one of the rare venomous mammals. It has small eyes, a pointed, mobile snout and red-tipped teeth. It has a lifespan of approximately 14 months. Shrews are active day and night, taking short periods of rest between relatively long bursts of activity. After a gestation period of 24 to 25 days, a female gives birth to a litter of 5 to 7 babies. A female rears 2 to 4 litters each year. The young are weaned and independent within 22 to 25 days. Young shrews often form a caravan behind their mother, each carrying the tail of its sibling in front with its mouth. The Eurasian least shrew can swim well, and in captivity even seems to enjoy playing in water. Its small size also makes the Eurasian least shrew a phenomenal climber. It has been observed climbing up even the smooth inside corner of a glass terrarium. Its eyesight is poor, but it has very good hearing. While the Eurasian least shrew frequently emits sounds, much of its communication is in frequencies beyond the limits of human hearing. Thanks to the absence of large terrestrial carnivores on the Gargano Island during the late Miocene, animals that were usually small had the opportunity to become larger, moving into the vacant ecological niches and evolving into predators unlike anything existing on the mainland. Deinogalerix was a giant member of the gymnors, with a proportionally big head and a long snout full of large fangs at the front and bone-crushing molars at the back. It would probably have hunted smaller mammals, birds and reptiles, filling a niche on the island similar to dogs or cats. Moonrats are nocturnal and terrestrial, lying up under logs, roots or in abandoned burrows during the day. They release strong odors with a strong ammonia content to mark the edges of their territories and warn other moonrats to stay away, with threatening hisses also to ward off predators. When they are preparing to have young, they will make nests mostly from leaves. The upper parts of the short-tailed gymnor are reddish-brown to dark brown. It is active both during day and at night. It lives in hilly and montane forests up to 3,000 meters, and sometimes in humid lowland forests. It feeds mainly on insects on the ground but also sometimes takes fruit. It normally does not live any longer than 2 years. Hedgehogs are easily recognized by their spines, which are hollow hairs made stiff with keratin. Their spines are not poisonous or barbed and, unlike the quills of a porcupine, do not easily detach from their bodies. They roll into a tight spiny ball when threatened, tucking in the furry face, feet and belly. The long-eared hedgehog is a species of hedgehog native to Central Asian countries and some countries of the Middle East. It lives in burrows that it either makes or finds and is distinguished by its long ears. It is considered one of the smallest Middle Eastern hedgehogs. This hedgehog is insectivorous but may also feed on small vertebrates and plants. Hedgehogs are primarily nocturnal, with some species also active during the day. They sleep for a large portion of the day under bushes, rocks, or most commonly in dens dug underground. All wild hedgehogs can hibernate, though the duration depends on temperature, species, and abundance of food. Hedgehogs share distant ancestry with shrews, with gymnors possibly being the intermediate link, and they have changed little over the last 15 million years. Like many of the first mammals, they have adapted to a nocturnal way of life. The southern African hedgehog is said to be a slow mover. However, when threatened, it can move surprisingly fast at 6 to 7 kilometers per hour. During the day, they typically stay where they live, which is an area that is covered with vegetation or in a hole in the ground. When the hedgehog rests, it curls up into a ball. Nighttime is when the hedgehog forages for food, making it nocturnal. It hibernates during the winter, and studies show that heterothermy helps keep the energy balance for this species during winter. While primarily insectivorous, European hedgehogs have been known to consume a diverse range of food, including fruits, fungi, and even small vertebrates like snakes and frogs. This dietary flexibility allows them to adapt to changing food availability in their habitats. They have shown remarkable adaptability to urban environments, often taking up residence in parks and gardens. They can find food and shelter in these areas, although they may face hazards such as road traffic and human-introduced toxins. Hedgehogs play an essential role in controlling insect populations, particularly those of harmful pests like slugs and snails. Their foraging behavior helps maintain the balance of the ecosystem, making them valuable contributors to natural pest control.